Welcome back to the Purple Rain Podcast, guys. I am your host, as always, Michael Pivia, joining you wherever you're listening to this, however you're listening to this, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We greatly appreciate it. Joined by me, as always, Adriana Arojo. Adriana eye-rolling Arojo, because she still does it, I bet. Adriana, how you doing?
Pretty good. Feeling good right now. I mean, it's a little cold outside, but school's canceled for the next 2 days, so I got some time off at least, so that's nice. But just a little worried about how Texas will handle the weather, so we'll see.
Yeah, as long as nobody tries to go to Cancun anymore, you know, we should be perfectly fine. And I mean, the coldness, of course, I mean, it's already wet. Like, I know here, I'm about 2 hours away from you in Temple, Texas, about 37, 36 degrees right now, already raining, supposed to hit like 19 tomorrow. And I still have to work, unfortunately. So, you know, yay for me while Adriana gets to sleep in. But there is still good news. These last 2 weeks, guys, I mean, we the last show we brought you guys was 2 weeks ago, but in those 2 weeks, a lot of things has happened in sports. I mean, the NFL playoffs that we have been watching have been off the charts. College basketball is just off the rails right now. Things are going crazy. The Big 12 got destroyed in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. I mean, nobody wanted to show up except for TCU. And what can I say? National Signing Day ended. The later period of National Signing Day ended. And we're going to get just a little bit into everything, guys. So real quick, before we get started with any type of college stuff, I do want to throw a curveball at you, Adriana. Your Super Bowl pick of LA Rams and Cincinnati Bengals. Who would have – did anyone bet any money that the Cincinnati Bengals would be in the Super Bowl? Did anyone in the world? I don't think we did.
Not. Nope.
We didn't, but I will say they did help my parlay. I put $3 down on Cincinnati beating Kansas City and LA beating, and it was just $3, so I wasn't risking much. And I ended up winning $70. So, yay. Awesome.
Nah.
Thank you. But your Super Bowl pick, Joe Burrow, with no offensive line, but the weapons, pretty good defense, going up against the Super Bowl hosts, the LA Rams, and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford versus Joe Burrow in a Super Bowl we never would have thought.
Yeah, I think this one's hard because who I want is not who I think is going to win. A lot of me wants to say that the Rams are going to win, but I want the Bengals. I think it'd be really cool to see Joe Burrow, just especially after getting, you know, the Heisman, the national championship, getting a Super Bowl win, I think, because I think they said that no one's ever done all three of those, especially in like 3 or 4 years, which is crazy. So I think that'd be awesome. And he's a guy that's hard not to like. So I think he's pretty cool. So I think that would be awesome for him. But also, I don't know. I think the Rams have a pretty solid team all around. And like you said, they're the home team. So I think they're going to have a lot of support. I don't know. But then, I don't know. At the same time, I wouldn't want to bet against Joe Burrow also, especially the fact that he's made it this far. So I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the Bengals, though. I'm going to go Bengals.
Wow.
All of that just to say I'm saying the Bengals.
So if you were in a casino, would you bet on the Bengals?
You're seeing that, like I said, we've seen me like struggle with decisions before. I'm terrible at making decisions.
Yes.
And I struggle a lot with like the logical part of myself and like what I actually want. The logical part says Rams, but then
okay,
I want the Bengals and they've made it this far. So it's kind of like, what's stopping them now? But
it's a good Cinderella story.
Exactly.
I never in my mind thought Cincinnati would even be this far in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, obviously, he's the new it kid, all the fashion. He shows up to NFL games like it's the Met Gala. And like he said, he makes too much money not to have real diamonds on his neck. So I definitely do not understand what it's like to be in his shoes. But I see the Rams completely dominating the Bengals. I do. Their offensive line is not good. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Sebastian Joseph Day, not Dante. I'm forgetting. Leonard Floyd. Too much pass rush, too much talent for that offensive line to handle. And I just see it being a blowout. Honestly, it'll be quicker, faster than people try to go and get their food at the concession stand. And I probably won't even put a score on it, but I just see the Rams dominating this game. But what a year for Cincinnati sports in general. Cincinnati Bearcats go to the college football playoff, and then the Bengals break the curse, as one of my friends like to call it. It's the curse. I'm just like, dude, I don't care about curses. Like, screw curses, screw analytics, history, all that stuff. This is the most talented football team Cincinnati has ever fielded. They can win a playoff game. They did. And they're in the freaking Super Bowl. Like, I think everybody in the world expected Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford on Sunday. And now we're getting Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow, which is amazing. Yeah. New faces, new era, new blood. Everything is beautiful in the Super Bowl. I love it. It's not Tom Brady. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not all these other regulars. It's something new, which is what I love. And yes, this is why we should expand the college football playoff so we can get new teams and new blood. Amazing. Now, that's NFL. Let's get into the Horned Frogs National Signing Day, guys. Welcome. Yes, this is still a TCU podcast, all right? The Horned Frogs ended their recruiting cycle of the 2021-2022 cycle. They end with the number 47 class in the country, and this is after all the coaching changes. All of these decommitments came out. 3 of them were 4 stars. But today, they secured a commitment from cornerback from New Orleans. Man, I forgot. His name was literally on the top of my head. But I will get to him in a second while I look this up. The next one that was a 4-star was DJ Allen. And this is a guy that, Adriana, you and I have talked about extensively. He was supposed to originally sign on the early signing period, but he wanted to take a little bit more time and see if his recruitment will take off, which it ended up doing. Arkansas got in the game. Alabama got in the game. Florida got in the game. Yes, all 3 SEC schools. But TCU, I mean, and his main recruiter was Malcolm Kelly, our wide receivers coach. I mean, the job that he has done, securing commitments, securing some commitments in the next class is second to none. And DJ Allen is a guy I really, really wanted. If you guys remember, the last couple of shows, I wanted a guy out of Manville, Justin Medlock. I wanted him bad, the linebacker. He ended up going to Utah. But DJ Allen is a guy I wanted equally as bad. He is so talented, so fast, so gifted with his hands, a great route runner. I see him playing snaps day one. I don't think he redshirts. No disrespect to the guys that are going to be in front of him or that are already on campus. I just think he's more talented than those guys. I'm sorry if that sounds rude, but I just think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'd probably agree as far as starting day one, especially with like the speed aspect. Like that's going to be huge for this team. And I think one thing like across the board that we've seen with a lot of the guys that we've been recruiting is just skill wise. They have a lot of their whole skill set, I feel like, is much more impactful for the team in general. And I think that we can utilize them in a lot of different ways than some of the players in the past. I think that we've had a little bit more of a specific skill set. So I think with DJ Allen, we have a lot of potential. And I think too, in high school, I believe he was also like a multi-sport athlete, and he played quarterback, I think, also, I want to say.
Yeah, a little bit like for specialty
Like a
specialty team,
little
kind of
bit.
like
Yeah.
what Debo Samuel does in San Francisco.
Yeah. So I just think like seeing what these coaches have, like the recruiting class they've put together, has been really interesting as far as like skill set. It's been pretty unique, but I think in like a really good way as far as like we're gonna have a lot of like diversity as far as where we're gonna be able to use these guys. So I'm definitely excited about DJ Allen.
And this is a guy, guys. I mean, I already said it before, so gifted. Getting into a couple of other guys, the guy that I mentioned from Louisiana, 3-star cornerback Ronald Lewis III, a guy who is talented. He's got good length, stands at 6'1". No, 6'2". Kyron Chambers is the guy that's 6'1". I'm thinking about those guys of the future. His weight is 195. This is a guy who is a little bit sticky in coverage. I do think this is a guy that's going to need a little bit developing. I don't see him playing any snaps probably his freshman year. He's definitely going to redshirt. Sophomore year, maybe, but the developing is going to be key for him. Another one, which was actually pretty big for depth purposes, the last time we spoke to you guys, we talked about, transfer prospects like Jackson Dart, Jackson Player, and those guys did not come to TCU, unfortunately. TCU was one of the early schools that was told no, even though there was a connection with Jackson Player and Joseph Gillespie. It really came down to Arkansas and Baylor. He ended up going to Baylor. He grew up in Waco, played for the Waco Midway Panthers. Such a talented player. He's back with his mom, his grandma. If you're in Waco and know the area, you know that the players are, no pun intended, but the players are special to Waco. And so we lost out on that. Jackson Dart is going to Ole Miss. I don't know what is going on with Ole Miss in these transfers, but something's going on in Ole Miss. A lot of talent is going there. So the quarterback room is going to stay the same. Sam Jackson, in my opinion, is gaining some heat. Chandler Morris, Adriana and I agree with him on that. He's going to be the guy. Max Duggan. It's definitely going to be something to look forward to. So again, that was the National Signing Day. The Horned Frogs do finish number 47 in the country. Now, guys, I don't know where this came from. It was kind of absent the last couple of years, but basketball has returned to TCU. Basketball is back, and I am kind of amazed at what I'm seeing right now. Adriana, I want to give you the floor because you are who is stepping into this arena in the Schallmeyer. You're going to these games. You're feeling the atmosphere. You're seeing the bench. You're seeing the players. You're seeing Coach Dixon. Describe the atmosphere it has been at TCU lately. Not truly, I guess you could say a specific game, but altogether, the atmosphere on campus, game day, in the arena. What is it like?
Yeah, it's been electric, and it's exciting because I think that there's a pretty big like consensus on campus as far as like excitement about the team. And I think before, if you would ask someone like, hey, you going to the game, is usually like, is there like, when is it? Like, not a lot of people, I feel like, were paying attention. And now it's like, yeah, I'm going, obviously, like, what time are you getting there? And it's awesome because it just creates such a fun environment, and it's so helpful for the players, especially like in the game. And I think that one of like the biggest things is just all the fans support, like collectively. I know like the UT game, we had, I think, the most fans we've ever had at the Schallmeyer and the most students we've ever had. I think it was close to like 4,000, I want to say. And our undergrad in total is close to 10,000. So that's pretty good for TCU. I mean, we're a relatively small school, so it's not a whole lot of students, but when you think of it in comparison of how many we have total, it's definitely a good portion. But I think that it's been really awesome for like the players and the fans to like feed off of each other's energy. But yeah, it's been awesome. And one of the things that I've been talking to my brothers about, and I know I've mentioned this before, but we used to have season tickets and go to all the games. And when we would go there, this is so sad, but there was this like ladder that was like literally in the stands. There's this orange ladder. It was in the stands in like the upper deck. And me and my brothers would be like, why is there this ladder in the stands? What if people wanted to sit there? Like, I don't know. And so every game it would be there, and we were like, well, the stadium's only like less than a quarter full. So, it's not like anyone's sitting in the upper deck anyway. So I guess you can use the upper deck as like a storage place. Oh, well. And it was like sad. And I remember like even the following season, we were like, yeah, there's no way the ladder is like still going to be there. And sure enough, the ladder was still there. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, and so it's so cool that there is no room for any ladders in the stands. There's no room for anything. We even had like so many like students like coming in, and I know a lot of my friends had to wait like 20 minutes or so outside of the arena just to get in because the line was wrapped around like the practice facility. It was so long and people were waiting to get in. But it's been awesome. And I think it's just, I'm obviously like rambling, but I'm just very enthusiastic about it because it's come a really long way. And I think that this is definitely, it's at a place that I never thought, I guess it would be at. So it's been really, really special for sure.
So one thing we know for sure, guys, there will never be any ladders in Adriana's house when she grows up. And two, the atmosphere at TCU is building. It is building. And one thing that I actually really like to see, I took a liking to it, is seeing Sonny Dykes urge the football team to celebrate the basketball team. That is something that I really, really appreciated because I guess everybody sees football as the sport that everybody has to go to, and then all the other sports are just selective. I even remember once upon a time when I was a Texas fan, the basketball team was at the Texas game. Those were the days of, let me see if I can remember these names: Isaiah Taylor, Jonathan Holmes, Mike Kabongo, Jacobin Brown, Javon Felix. I actually saw him at a sneaker store in the mall. Javon Felix. I mean, these guys, those were the OG days for me when I was a Texas fan. And they were always at the football games. I remember that because I think I followed them on Twitter. They were supporting the football team, and a couple of guys from my high school went to Texas for baseball because we had a really good baseball program here. They would be at the football games, and I took a liking to seeing Sonny Dykes urging all sports to come together and appreciate one another's sports, because I think that is important. You kind of lose sight of what basketball is going through, the adversity they go through, even tennis, even baseball, even softball, soccer, who has had a really good season last year, looking to have another one. TCU baseball is getting started. I really appreciate that. And Sonny Dykes talks about family, create a family culture. One thing I got to give to him, he's putting his money where his mouth is. His actions are coming to light about everything that he is preaching. And I really appreciated that, man. Even big football players were there celebrating. And like you said, Adriana, the Texas game, even though it was not the outcome that we wanted, seeing all these fans there was amazing. I mean, I watched the TCU games. I don't usually see the student section go that high in the stadium or the arena. And I saw it then. It was leaking out everywhere else. And I always get this weird urge that I tell myself, where's my co-host at? Where's she at? Where's she at? Like, and I can't find her. I'm just like, okay, I guess she didn't go to this game. She didn't go to this game. And then she tells me, oh, I went to the game. I'm like,
oh, I'm at all of them.
Find the camera, please. Find the camera.
It's so embarrassing. They always put me on like the big screen, and I feel like I'm never ready for it. And I'm just like, please no. Yeah, I'm there though. I'm definitely there.
Guys, TCU basketball is taking off, and let's hop into it. Okay, the last time we spoke, they have beaten ranked Iowa State 59-44, and I'll bring the last 4 games up. They beat Iowa State in Iowa 59-44, and Iowa State, I believe, was ranked number 15 at the time. They then came back and lost, in my opinion, got dominated by Texas 73-50. They lost that game, and that is the game that Adriana and I were discussing about the attendance. Then they come back and beat the number 19 ranked team in the country, LSU, 77-68. Like, okay. And then they come back, go on the road to Norman for the first time ever and win in Norman. They have been 0-14 in the all-time series in Norman. They beat them 72-63. This year I find myself more excited about this team than I was about the Alex Robinson, the Vladimir Brodziansky, Kenrich William team in 2018 that made the tournament. Because with this team, in 2018, you knew they could score. You knew they could hit shots. You knew they could hit threes. But here, you see shot making and defense. That's what I love to see. Damian Ball, Emmanuel Miller, Eddie Lampkin down in the post. I mean, what about Chuck O'Bannon on the perimeter? Micah Peavy getting after it. Even though he's still a freshman, he's still growing. He's getting after it. In the Iowa State game, it was a physical basketball game. I think the score could tell you that 59-44. A lot of paint present. Eddie Lampkin was just feasting in the paint. I believe in that game he went 7 for 7 in that game. He was just feasting. He was, the floaters. It was like he was Kareem Olajuwon. He channeled his inner Kareem, 7 for 7, and then going to Texas. Let's talk about the Texas game here real quick, because I don't know how Adriana is going to talk about this game, but the Texas game, there was a lot of emotion going into it. There was a lot of expectations, hype going into the basketball team. And I saw a couple of tweets out there that maybe suggested, or maybe they got humbled tonight. Maybe they felt the pressure, the anxiety of everything that was going on around them. I don't necessarily buy that. I just think that they lost to a better basketball team in Texas. I haven't watched them too much this year, but when I turned the TV on, I saw a team that was more athletic, long, strong, physical, took the physicality to TCU and just straight up beat them. Their defense hounded Mike Miles. Their offense was hitting shots. They were hitting easy layups. And Adriana, you were at this game. Please talk about. Well, I might just step back because I think she might go on about this game, but it was a game that TCU did get dominated. And so, Adriana, talk to us about what went wrong in this game from TCU, because it sort of felt like it started from the very start and to the very end, because I think even in the first half, it was like 26-12, the score was. What was not working for TCU, and what was Texas really good at dominating in this game?
Yeah, I think it was basically everything that TCU is really good at. Texas knew how to kind of rattle those things, and without that, TCU really suffered. So I think TCU is really good at getting rebounds and then getting second chance points. And I don't know, Texas just dominated them on the boards, and they were not allowing any second chance points. I mean, because it makes sense. They weren't getting any rebounds to begin with. But then Texas was dominating with second chance points, and then so many turnovers, so many fast breaks. And I think they were taking advantage of a lot of TCU's like breakdowns and defense. But honestly, TCU just looked lost a lot of the time. It looked like a lot of the breakdowns in defense, it looked like they seemed like they kind of didn't really know like what they were doing. And then we'd call a timeout, and it was very clear, call a timeout. You're going to go out. We have a play, do it, execute it. And we'd go out there and it's like, that is definitely not what we called the timeout for. That is, I can tell you, I wasn't in the huddle, but I know that's not what we drew up. So it's just stuff like that where it's just big, like mental lapses is just really frustrating. But at the same time, you got to hand it to Texas. I mean, again, we've talked about this. I'm a Texas fan, and when we play each other, I usually root for Texas, but I will say I love this TCU basketball team so much, and I just could not cheer for UT this game. I wanted TCU to win so bad, and I even texted my family, and I was like, if I get on the big screen, like, I'm doing horns down, all of it. And my family was like, who is this? Like, what? Like, are you okay? But I don't know. Anyway, so my point is, I do have to hand it to Texas. They played really, really well. There's just very, very physical, like you said, long, and really strong defensive team. And we just suffered with that. I think the environment was, I don't think it was a strong factor in it, but I think that it was definitely just one more thing to think about. It was just like another added pressure, that, hey, this is our biggest crowd ever. And, we got to play well if we want to keep having this kind of attendance. So I think it was just small smidget, but yeah, just in general, stronger, faster, better defensively, rebound, second chance points. But I would say, like, TCU, I think it was a good kind of reset, or like kind of season check. I think it's always, even though those losses are really hard, I think sometimes those are the best, like, kind of games to, like, check your team and be like, listen, we had a hard loss, but now, you go back to practice, watch the film, you see all of your flaws, and, it came relatively early in the season, and then you go forward, and you get to work on those things, and you know what they are. So I think you're better off, getting those things exposed early on so you can fix them. So honestly, I think we're better off for it. But TCU is Texas is a relatively streaky team, but when they're on, they're really, really good. And we caught them on a good night. So.
Yeah, Texas is one of those teams that where you look like if they get hot for the NCAA tournament, like, they definitely have the length, they have the rebounding, they have the shot making to really go on a legitimate run, not like a Cinderella story, like a legitimate run where they're not an underdog. They are a favorite. And I think I like that the fact that you harped on, is what was this game a good thing? And I think it was. I think the previous game, they beat Iowa State. The game before that, they lost to Oklahoma State. They had the game won and then the last 2 minutes, they had an 8-point lead. I think the last minute and 37, they lost the game by 1 point, 59-58. They were leading 58-50. And they lost that game. Like, bro, what? Then you go on the road and beat a ranked team, then come back and get destroyed against Texas, then beat a very good LSU squad and won in Norman for the first time ever. Like, I want to say I have a good hunch of who this team is, but the fact that they're still growing and they're still getting better, I'm excited for this. And this kind of leads me to the LSU game, because this game was really, it was almost like March, hangs on this game. Your March hopes, your NCAA tourney hopes kind of hinge on this game. Well, a big part of it does. The game starts and TCU is doing good. They're hitting shots. They're getting in the paint. I believe they go to the halftime with a 4-point lead. And then they come out of the second half on like a 8-10-0 run. Unfortunately, somehow LSU calls a timeout and they come back and go like on an 8-0 run. Now we're winning by like 2 or so. The most hyped moment in the game was when Chuck O'Bannon hit 3 straight 3-pointers. Like there was literally in the same spot of the court on the right wing, 3 straight threes. I was like, bro, there's no way. Like this is for real. 3 straight threes. The crowd was going wild. I was going wild in my dang apartment. I'm surprised the cops didn't come because of how loud I was. I was hyped. And LSU, you know, they're a gritty team. They're an athletic team. They start coming back. Their point guard is making tremendous plays, setting up plays, getting in the paint, getting rebounds, getting free throws, getting in a position to get free throws. And down the stretch, TCU's experience, their chemistry, their grit, their defense stepped up. Their shot making stepped up. Mike Miles, your best player, should come up clutch in the last 4 minutes of the game. And that's what he did. I believe he was 3 for 3 on layups, forcing his way to the paint. And these were some tall guys that he did this to. The fact that he did that is just phenomenal. You want your best player to step up, and that's what he did. And I felt like in this game, we really saw a TCU team grow up before our eyes. They hit shots. They played defense. Damian Ball was all over the court. Chuck O'Bannon was hitting shots, playing defense. Mike Miles kind of went away a little bit in the second half, but did come on when we needed him most. So this LSU game, it was kind of a mixed. I mean, if there was a roller coaster of a game, it was this game. There was big leads, and then there was a run of 10-0. There was another run of 10-0 by the other team. Hit shots, missed easy shots. I mean, I was feeling everything in this game. Happiness, hype, anger, like what's going on. But in this game is where we really saw this TCU team grow up. Adriana, I'm curious of your take on how you saw this game, because of course you were there, you saw it, you felt the energy the entire game, and maybe even the nervousness that had you on the edge of your seat because of the things that LSU was doing well. Take me through everything that you were feeling.
Yeah, first of all, I'll say that props to LSU. They travel really, really well. When I got there, I was really surprised at how many LSU fans they were. I was in the student section this time. My dad went with me, so we had tickets somewhere else. But yeah, there were so many LSU fans, and they're very, very loud. I've never been to Death Valley, but I understand why it's a difficult place to play, because those LSU fans got so loud, honestly, maybe louder than the TCU fans at times. And I'm pretty sure, you know, the TCU fans outnumbered them, but they got loud. So it was a really, like, I would say difficult environment to play in. But I think you touched on it a few times, that, you know, this TCU team, this whole game, that they kind of, you know, there were moments where LSU would have these, you know, big plays, or they'd go on these runs, you know, steals, dunks, do all these things. But I think for the most part, you know, TCU kept their composure and kept the lead and kept playing their game. And I think that's so important, because it's really easy to get wrapped up in moments like that, especially when, you know, you have such a big visiting crowd rattling you too. And so the fact that TCU was able to keep their composure and play well down the stretch, keep their game plan, and just be able to come together as a team, I think is really, really huge. And I think that this game is probably the best example of and best display of like who this TCU team really is that we're going to see this season. And I don't want to like make any big statements, but I think that it's probably like the best display we're going to see, and maybe a good glimpse of things to come, maybe. We'll just leave it at that. But it was just like a really intense, stressful. It's weird because I think like at the Schollmeyer, it'll get dead silent when everyone's like kind of just not sure what is going to happen, which I've never experienced at another like stadium, but it'll just get completely silent, which I think is the weirdest thing ever, but it's also like kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It was very stressful, but I was really impressed. And I think the LSU game too was a good point distribution. I know one of the things that we've talked about is if this team wants to go far, we can't always rely on Mike to, bail us out and do everything. And at the end, he had some big buckets at the end, but when he wasn't able to, make shots and do things, like you said, Chuck was able to step up. And I think that's so important for this team is as, the season's gone on, we've seen other players step up, especially because I think Mike, it seems like his wrist may still be bothering him a little from that Baylor game as far as like shot making. But I think that's going to be huge that everyone's kind of coming up into these roles that we didn't really see before and that we were worried, like, I don't know who on this team is going to make plays or who on this team is going to make shots, especially, when Mike can't. And now that we're seeing that and we have multiple guys that can do that. So I'm excited about that for sure.
We won this game shooting the 3-pointer 27%, which is not really that good. Chuck O'Bannon went 3 for 4. Mike Miles went 0 for 3. Damian Ball went 0 for 4. Frank Farabello went for 2 for 4. And Micah Peavy went 0 for 1, 27%. You said shot selection, and they were making shots. Obviously, they were making shots, but also they were just getting buckets that mattered. Not relying too much on the 3-point as we see a lot of teams do because of what they see in the NBA. Everybody's making 3-pointers now. Okay, now let's start making 3-pointers in college because that's what scouts are going to look at. Focus in the paint. Getting layups, getting tough shots, mid-range jumpers, all that stuff is so important. And like you said, is it a glimpse of what we're going to see? I really hope it is, because if we look at this upcoming schedule, there are 11 games left within the regular season. And then, of course, the Big 12 tournament goes down in Kansas. The Horned Frogs currently right now are number 4. I can't even believe I'm saying this right now. They are 4th in the Big 12. That's 4. After 3, before 5. 4. They're 4th in the Big 12 rankings, okay? These next 2 games, in my opinion, the Frogs really need to have. These next 2 games against, if I had to say inferior opponents in Kansas State and Oklahoma State. 2 very winnable games. Kansas State played them tough in Manhattan last time. They should have beat Oklahoma State, but of course, like I said, in the last minute and 47, I don't know what the hell happened in that game. How do you lose an 8-point lead in a minute and a half? You need to secure these 2 games. After that, guys, you can't tell me there's another team out there that has a tougher schedule to end this season. You go to Texas Tech.
At Tech.
You then have Iowa State come to Schollmeyer. You go to Baylor. You're playing West Virginia. You go to Texas. Texas Tech then comes to you. You play Kansas twice because you were supposed to play them originally when Big 12 play started, but COVID reasons, they had to delay it. Then you finish the season at West Virginia, and West Virginia may not be as good, but that's still West Virginia. That is still a tough place to play. Their crowd is almost as equally as loud as Kansas in the Big 12. That list that I just put down, show me one gimme in that one list. I mean, I could probably say a gimme in Kansas State and Oklahoma State, but this is the Big 12. Everybody is playing tough. Texas Tech twice, West Virginia twice, Kansas twice. You go to Baylor, you go to Texas. Iowa State's coming to you. We're about to see it. These games against Iowa State, these games against LSU, we are about to see what they're about, because Texas Tech, my goodness, Texas Tech is really good. They are so good. I wouldn't even be surprised if they win the Big 12. Kansas got their ass smacked against Kentucky. Does Kansas seem a little bit human this year? Possibly. But they, of course, we want them to win as many games as possible. And I think they can, because they have shown they are talented. But we're still aiming for March. We're still aiming for the NCAA tournament to try and get where's the Final Four this year?
I think it's in New Orleans, I think.
New Orleans.
I believe so.
I was just in New Orleans this past September. We're trying to get to New Orleans now. But what's up?
Don't quote me on that, though.
Okay, no, I'm not quoting. No quoting going on here. The Big 12 tournament obviously going to come later on, but this last stretch, and of course we'll be here to talk about the games that go on and everything, guys. This Saturday they are going to play Kansas State. That's going to be this Saturday. Let me see here. I literally just had everything pulled up, honestly. What in the world is going on? That is not even okay. Yeah, Saturday they play Kansas State, and then they play Oklahoma State on Tuesday. So the month of February is going to get rough. It is going to get physical. Adriana, when you look at this stretch coming up, do you see it making or breaking TCU?
Man, I mean, I think, yeah, next two games, like you said, definitely gotta win those. But it's a tough schedule, especially all the away games. They're all really hard places to play. But I think it's hard because I'm a person that I know, like, I don't want to jinx anything. I'm a big, like, so bad, but
Come on, give it to us.
Don't want to make too many statements. But I think they have a pretty good chance at taking a few of these games. Which ones? That's
anybody's guess.
Say for sure. Like, it's just hard because the Big 12 is just so competitive, so up in the air. It's really honestly like anybody's game, but I do think that they have a pretty good chance in a few of these to get wins in. But like I said, which ones, I have no idea, but I think we have a good team. And I think that, I've gotten to watch a few of the other teams a little bit more like this week. And I think that solid teams, but definitely some holes, some weaknesses that I think that knowing kind of like what we're good at, I think that we can use that to our advantage. To me, like, rebounding is so huge, and it sounds dumb, but like not enough teams, I guess, emphasize it or pay attention to it. I feel like it seems like such an obvious thing, but anyway, TCU's, I feel like, so good at it that I think that will be a deciding factor in a few of these. So I don't know, man. The Big 12 is tough.
I definitely want to grab one of the Tech games. I definitely want to grab one of those. I think. I want to grab one of them because what it'll do for our net ranking, which I think right now TCU is currently sitting at 43. This is basically like how Joe Lunardi, determines the NCAA tournament games. TCU for a while was outside of the top 68. They were in the 80s, the 70s. Then they beat Iowa State. They jump up to like 60, and then they lose to Texas. They go down to like 62, beat LSU, go up to 47. They beat Oklahoma. Now I think they're at 43. Of course, winning these games against, whether if it's Texas, the Texas Tech, the Baylors, I definitely want to grab a couple of ranked ones. Baylor, Texas Tech, we play them twice. Kansas, of course. I want to grab one of those because I think it's just so pivotal. Grabbing those ranked games is going to help you in your net ranking. I mean, don't get me wrong. Beating Kansas State, beating Oklahoma State is crucial, of course, but they're not going to do too much on your net ranking. It's going to give you a win, no doubt. I mean, if you're going to make the tournament, you always want to be around 19 to, of course, 25 wins to really get in, or to at least, or 19 to 20, 19 to 21 to really have a chance to get in the tournament. They stand at 15 right now. So also, how is this team not ranked? How is this team not ranked? There are teams that are 15-6 that are ranked, and we're 15-14. How?
I was so mad when the rankings came out because I was thinking for sure, we'll at least get in there, we'll like crack it just a little, and no, nothing. I was upset.
If I have this correct, I don't even think they're getting votes right now. Like, there are teams that have 6-7 losses that are ranked, and we sit here with 4, and we ain't up there. What is going on? I have no idea. But guys, right. I am too. I'm right there with you. Because I keep my eye out for it every Monday. Every Monday I keep my eye out for it. Okay, what are we doing? Come on. And the same old. I mean, I oh my gosh. This is why I want to get these games going. Guys, February is going to be a grind, and we're going to be here to talk about it, guys. Once again, she is Adriana Rojo. I am Michael Pivia. Make sure you're following on Twitter. You're following or subscribe on YouTube, guys. Oh, it's going to be a grind. February, March, it's coming. February is here. Get these 2 games out of the way. Please, for the love of God, get these games out of the way. Guys, once again, she's Adriana. I'm Michael. Thank you for tuning in for this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. We will see you next week.